I don't think it is. It is now.
There it is. Okay. So, so let's start with an introduction. Tell us about Movement Mortgage and your business.
Yeah, I'm Mike Morrison with Movement Mortgage. We are a national mortgage company. We've been around since 2008, and we've really grown a lot in the Pacific Northwest in the last about 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a great presence up here now. And in Idaho, we've really taken off as well, both in the Treasure and Magic Valley.
That's awesome. Well, I know we've had a couple of contracts with you in the last couple of months, and they all seem to go really smoothly. And I think that it's because of your processes, how you move people through the each step. Do you want to go over that really quick too?
Yeah, the big thing that Movement changed in the industry about 10 years ago is that we decided to do a full underwritten pre-approval for almost every client right ahead of time. So rather than kind of having a very loose pre-approval that sometimes isn't worth a whole lot,
Yeah.
we make sure that we're gathering documents, pulling credit, and really giving everything a thorough review, including an underwriter looking at it. And so it gives the client and the agents a much higher level of assurance that everything's going to be fine and smooth. If there's a problem there, we're really good at identifying it very early on and making sure that we fix it before you get into contract on a home, and there's a lot of time pressure then at that point.
Right. So instead of the client saying to you verbally, I work this many hours a week and I have this much income, you actually verify that, check their pay stubs and W-2s, go through all of that process for a true pre-approval.
Yes, yep, that's exactly right. In fact, a great example is what you just mentioned, them saying that they work so much. It's amazing how many people think they work full time, and then you find out you get their paychecks and it really turns out to be 30 hours or 32 or 35. And they can still qualify with those kinds of incomes, but it's going to make the amount be a little less because they're working a little less.
Right, right. So in our current market, the big topic is furlough and what that means to the average person in our economy, the average, our clients. Can you explain what being furloughed is and why it's important to know the details about it before you apply?
Yeah, absolutely. So furlough is a situation where a borrower gets laid off from their job, and they basically get sort of suspended from work for a little while. So that is a hot button topic right now because that's happening to a lot of employees, and a lot of employers are having to do that right now just to survive.
Right.
And so if somebody does get furloughed right now, they would be ineligible for financing until they come back to work, until the employer hires them back and gives them their full hours. And so that's important. That's something that we're trying to keep an eye out for in the pre-approval stage. And while these contracts and these transactions are playing out, because if that happens, it can bring everything to a halt again until they're back at work. One other hot button topic, though, is forbearance.
Right.
And so that is a situation. So what's happened is a lot of people are getting furloughed and they are getting laid off and they are having their hours cut. And so a lot of Americans need help right now. And so the government stepped in and created a program where anybody can ask their servicer for forbearance. And that's basically just a little break on having to make mortgage payments. And so I'm just trying to spread the word about what that actually means. So the first thing that's most important with that is that forbearance is not forgiveness. What that means is these payments aren't just forgotten about. These payments do need to be made back up at some point. They have to be repaid. And each mortgage servicer is going to have their own unique plan as to how they want that homeowner, that home buyer to make up those payments. And so the first tip I would give anybody who's considering forbearance is to make sure that you contact your servicer and are really clear on what the repayment terms are going to look like. Under certain circumstances, it may be harder to repay the payments that you're missing, the payments that you're skipping, than it would be to just make those to begin with.
Right.
To give you an example, if let's say somebody pays $1,000 a month, and they have a 3-month forbearance, that's $3,000 that they now owe. If the servicer says, okay, you can pay that back to us starting in the 4th month, and we want it paid back over the course of 6 months. So they owe 3,000. You divide that by 6, the number of months to pay it back. That's an extra $500, and you would add that to their payments that they have to normally make anyway. So
Mm.
now for 6 months, they're paying the original 1,000 plus
Yeah.
500 to make up. So if a homeowner was already a little tight financially, making $1,000 payment, it may be very hard for them to get by for 6 months paying 1,500 if they're
Right.
not ready for that. So that's an example of how they just want to be very clear with the servicer, on what that repayment plan is. Um, there's no actual financial gain for the homeowner to execute on forbearance. It's really just a break. And so what we've been letting people know is if you are truly, in a very tight financial position, which a lot of Americans are right now. A lot
Right.
of people have been furloughed, they have been laid off, or their hours are reduced. If you're really truly tight and you have no other way to make it, no other way to make your payments and keep your house or keep food on the table, then this forbearance program is a great tool, and you definitely want to take advantage of it to survive, to get by. But if you're somebody who, your income hasn't been affected and you're fortunate enough to be, to have money coming in, you can pay your bills, or even if your income's been affected, but you've been able to save money over the last few years.
Right.
If you have that rainy day savings, that's what it's here for. That's why we always try to save money, so that when we have tight times, we can draw upon those funds in our bank account. So we strongly encourage people not to execute on forbearance unless they absolutely have to. It really needs to be an option of last resort. Again, because there is no financial gain for the homeowner. The other thing is that it will impact their credit. That's something else that homeowners need to know. So it
Yeah, I
will
don't feel like
not be,
that's
what's
not
up?
very widely talked about for some reason. Like I don't feel like that's a common thing that,
Yeah.
that it's certainly not in the news.
Yeah, I would agree. And so the government did protect the home buyer a little bit in that they're not going to be marked late on their payments. So that is good. However, what will happen, and we've already seen a few instances of this just in the first 3 weeks of forbearance, is they get some comments on their credit report that their mortgage is in forbearance.
Uh,
And that is not looked at very kindly in the mortgage world. So when
mhm.
that homeowner goes to either refinance their home or they want to buy a new home, there is going to be some period of time where that forbearance is going to hold them back and they're not going to be able to qualify for a portion of time. It has yet to be determined how long, but it will probably be a few years before they'll be able to re-engage with a mortgage. So that's really important. And then the last thing is kind of more of a community thing, a country thing, a United States thing. And that's that if we have too many people that ask for forbearance, it'll have a crushing effect on the mortgage world and the financial industry. As you can imagine, if there's a whole bunch of mortgage companies that are expecting payments, and now they're not coming in from, say, hundreds of thousands or even millions of people, that could create a really big problem on the mortgage side. It could cause companies to go out of business, and it could lead to a real tightening and sometimes elimination of credit availability for all of us in the future if that happens.
Wow. So it has a huge impact on the individual,
Mhm.
um, starting with less hours or being furloughed or whatever that situation is. The individual is impacted, and then the mortgage company is impacted, and then the whole industry, and then the whole country. I
Yeah,
mean, it's really
yeah,
a
yeah. It
big
really could affect the whole economy. I mean, if it became too big. So that's again why we're just emphasizing that people who don't really truly need it, try to avoid that. It's
right.
not a positive outcome for you. But somebody who does need it, then by all means, it's a great tool and it will help you survive if it's the last resort for you, if there's no other option.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I know us as Keller Williams agents specifically, we have really great leadership and agents that have been in the business for a long time, and they've helped us kind of figure out where we can cut our budget down, things that we just don't really need. Do you really
Mhm.
need that monthly subscription to your car wash or little things like that? You're not going anywhere right now, right?
Yeah.
And so we've done a really good job of cutting back our expenses as agents. And we want to express to our clients and our community members that if anybody would like to look at that or needs help with that or wants to just bounce ideas off of things that they should, maybe consider cutting back on right now, now's a great time to kind of relook at your budget, and your mortgage probably should be there at the end,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I agree. And that's great that you guys are offering that. That's something I like to talk to people about as well. I'd be happy to talk to anybody who wants that. But I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking at my direct TV package and deciding if I need all those channels, or do we really need, can we cut back on Netflix, or can we cut back on the cell phone bill? One great thing about this shutdown is I think everybody's going out and spending a lot less money right now.
Yeah.
Right? No restaurants, no entertainment. So I know my wife and I are saving quite a bit right now for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even when you're talking about Netflix and Hulu and those kind of things, I mean, so many of us are cooped up inside working in the same place that we live in. I mean,
Mhm.
it's day in and day out the same couple of rooms in our four walls, and so we're just dying to get outside by the end of the day. And so there's probably a significant amount of people. There's probably a lot that are spending a lot more time on Hulu and Netflix, but there's probably some that might not be too, just
Yeah.
because you're kind of tired of being in those same four walls.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm staring out my office window right now, and there's a park across the street, and it's amazing the number of people that just stream by,
Really?
walking their dog and
Yes.
riding their bikes and, keeping distance and everything. But man, people are definitely getting outside a little bit more. And hopefully that's a change that that our country will embrace, is just kind of spending a little bit more time with each other,
Right.
with that immediate family. Cause I think that's been eye-opening, at least, for a lot of us. So,
Absolutely. I mean, I think that we're all ready to see our barbers and our nail
yeah,
techs and go back to a restaurant and sit down there for a little while and that kind of
yeah,
thing. But there's other things like spending time with family and being outdoors and stuff that has been fantastic that I'd like to see stick around.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Katie, do you have any questions, or I didn't mean to take over.
Oh, I just wanted it to be explained a little bit more. And I think the biggest thing we could touch on there was the fact that don't just use it because it's there.
Right.
It will hurt you in the long run. It's more of only if you need it. Like if you desperately need it, it's a great thing to have, but don't just be like, oh, I could save some money right now
Mhm.
on my mortgage, because in the long run, you're not really saving any money.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
so
That's exactly it.
important to let people know about, because who wants to pay that back? Nobody. I
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, Mike, we sure appreciate you being on this call with us and kind of explaining things to our clients and our community members. We'll make sure to tag you on Facebook and that kind of thing, and get your contact information in the description and everything, so that people can give you a call if they have any questions, or if they're looking to make a purchase or a refinance. Also, I mean, you're a great resource for any of the above.
Yes, I would love to talk to anybody, whether it's just simple questions or a purchase or a refinance. Absolutely. I love doing this with you guys. We'll do it anytime.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.